guys, so for today's video I'm going to do my nails, and as you can see I already sculpted them out and everything. So for this set I wanted to do like a 3D barbed wire design, and for the base of the nail I really wanted to do a nude color, so I pulled out cinnamon sugar and glazed donut from Barbed because I was thinking one of those colors would look good for this. So I did just kind of swatch them on the nails to see like how they looked and how I felt about them, but then I wasn't really feeling either one of these colors, so I ended up pulling marshmallow out from Barbed and testing that one out, and I did end up liking the marshmallow color a lot better than the cinnamon sugar and the glazed donut. I just kind of felt like cinnamon sugar was too close to like my skin tone, and it was just gonna look like I had like super extra long fingers, and that wasn't really the look I was going for. Glazed donut was honestly all right, but I felt like it was still a little too dark, so that's why I did end up going with marshmallow. So after I decided to use marshmallow, I wiped all the nails off and then went in and painted all of my nails with this color, and I did 2 layers of this, and I cured each layer for 60 seconds. And as I was painting the nails, I did realize that there were a couple spots on the nails that had air bubbles in them that I had filed into that I didn't realize that I had filed into. I thought they were still like underneath the nail, like they were like still covered up, so it didn't really matter. But then once I started painting the nails, I realized that those bubbles were there, and the polish was kind of like sinking into it a little bit, so I kind of had to manipulate it so that it would cover those air bubbles. Also, it kind of really didn't matter that those were there because like I said, I am doing a 3D design on top of this, and I was able to kind of cover those up a little bit so that they weren't really visible. But realistically, what I should have done was take my builder gel and just patch those little holes up real quick, but I was just wanting to get this set done as quickly as possible and didn't feel like doing that, so I just kind of went over them with the gel polish and manipulated it so that it would cover them without like sinking down into the little hole there. So since this is a Halloween set, I wanted to make it a little more spookier and creepier and wanted to do some blood splatters. So I'm taking Bloodbath from Nails by Dev. It's a jelly red and it's kind of like a darker jelly red and gives a good like blood effect. And I dipped this like nail scrubber brush into it and then dab that onto the nail to create the blood splatter patterns on the nails. And when you do this, you want to kind of vary the pressure you're using when doing this. So in some spots you want to use more pressure, some spots you want to use a lighter pressure to get those varying like splatter patterns. Also, you want to kind of vary how much you're putting on. So some spots you want to apply more of the gel, and in other spots you want to keep it pretty light, again to make it a little more realistic and create that varying like splatter pattern that blood does give when it like sprays everywhere. And then after I did that and got the nails how I wanted them to look, I did go ahead and cure for 60 seconds. So because I wanted the barbed wire to be 3D, I decided to use the unicorn white fantasy clay from Ball Pit. And to make the barbed wire, all I did was take out some of the clay and roll it out into like a log. You are gonna see when I roll it out, I do roll it out too thin and it does kind of snap in half. So you do want to make this, you know, as thin as you can, but not so thin that it's going to pull apart and break on you. But after I got it rolled out thin enough, I did take it and kind of fold it in half so that I would be able to cut it in half and have two even halves. Also, I recommend if you're using any kind of sculpting gels and you need to roll it out like into a ball or a log like this, do it on like a nail palette. My nail palette is just a piece of like ceramic tile that I bought from Home Depot. If you use a silicone mat like I have in the background, it will stick to it and you're gonna have a difficult time rolling it out and like picking it up and everything. So I definitely recommend using like your nail palette to like roll anything out. That way it doesn't stick to anything. And as always, make sure you are wearing gloves when using sculpting gels if you are planning on using your hands to sculpt anything out or to roll anything out, because you do not want to develop an allergy. Honestly, when you are using this stuff, you shouldn't be cutting any holes in your gloves, because that does weaken the gloves and can make them rip a lot easier. You also run the risk of, like, if they do rip, touching the gel with your bare skin. Also, because this is uncured gel, it can leach, and even though like it's not anywhere near the opening there, if it does get near it, or even just it not being near the opening, the molecules can leach into that hole and you still can end up with an allergy. But you know, like, it's kind of difficult to put this on a nail if it's inside of a glove. So I mean, a little protection here is better than no protection at all. It does give a little bit of a barrier here. But as you could see, I took those two pieces and placed them on my pointer finger, and then I held the top part with like my thumb and then used my right hand to kind of twist those two pieces together to make them look braided. I was struggling a little bit doing this. As you can see here, I'm so out of frame. You are barely able to see anything that I'm doing. Also, I did apply a matte top coat to the nails because I did originally want the background of the nails to be matte and have the barbed wire be shiny. So I did apply a matte top coat to the nails. And as I've stated before, like, these sculpting gels don't really stick to a nail very well unless there's some sort of sticky surface. So like if you still have the tacky layer from applying gel polish, or if you apply a base coat, then they will stick. So I did have to go in and apply base coat to the nails in order to get this clay to stick onto the nail. And then once I got it placed down how I wanted it, I would kind of go in and press it down with my finger to make sure that it was stuck down onto the nail. And then I used my cuticle pusher to break off that tail that is hanging off of the nail. And then since I did roll this out long enough, I was able to take that little piece that I cut off and make a second barbed wire strand on the nail, and just did the same thing. Place that down how I wanted it, push it down a little bit to make sure it's on the nail, and then use my cuticle pusher to cut off the little extra hanging bits, which I do re-roll up and roll out into more barbed wire pieces so nothing is getting wasted. I do reuse the little pieces that I do cut off. After I get these strands on how I wanted, I did go ahead and flash cure that real quick. And as I was flash curing it, I was starting to roll out my next pieces, and I just repeated that process. I do think on here I am a little bit better in frame when I do the braiding part, so you can actually see how I twist up the two pieces and kind of get that braided look, since I wasn't super in frame the last time. And just like the first time, I rolled out my log, folded in half, cut it, and then took those two pieces and twisted them together to get that braided look. Placed it onto the nail how I wanted it, cut off any excess hanging off pieces with the cuticle pusher, and once I got it placed how I wanted it, went ahead and flash cured it real quick. And I did repeat that process on all of the nails. I didn't, however, show it for all of the nails because this was kind of a time-consuming thing to do, and it was taking a while to get it done, and I didn't want this video to be super long, so I do only show doing these two fingers. But like I said, I did the same steps for each and every single finger. And then after I got all of the like barbed wire strips on the nails, I did go ahead and cure for a full 60 seconds. So when I got this idea to do this, and when I started doing it, I was like, oh, this is gonna be a pretty quick set. I'll get done within a couple hours or so. But once I started sculpting the barbed wire, I realized that it was going to take a lot longer than a couple hours, and I was going to be at this for quite a while, and I really was at it for quite a while. It took way longer than I was expecting it to take, because I had to twist up these little pieces and roll them out, and then the little, like, I don't know what they're called, I guess the barbed part, where it's like wrapped around this part, the like strip part here, the wire part, the little barbs that are wrapped around it, sculpting those out took a long time. And then like painting everything. Yeah, this set definitely took me a lot longer than I was expecting. Okay, so for the little barbed parts, I just rolled out another log, and I just cut off little tiny pieces to like wrap around the wire part. As you can see, I was struggling a little bit to get it off and to get it to stick on the nail a little bit. It took me a minute to kind of get the hang of what I was doing, but once I did, I figured out that if I use my tweezers to like wrap this little strip around the wire part and use it to kind of tuck it under there to make it look like it actually does wrap around, that was like the best way for me to create this part. And at first I was doing one little piece and then flash curing that, and then doing another piece and flash curing that, and then the next piece and flash curing that, and just doing that. But then I found that I could put all of the little pieces on first, and then flash cure once I got all of them on, and like sculpted out the way that I wanted. I was afraid that if I put all those pieces on that like I would mess up or like end up smushing them together, but I really didn't have an issue with that at all. Here you can see I'm just trying to cut out some of those cut up those pieces so that they're all ready to go, so I can just pick them up with my tweezers and place them on to the nail. And then after I got this all finished, I did go ahead and do a full cure for 60 seconds again. And again, I didn't show me doing this part on all of the nails because it was very time consuming, very tedious task to do. So this is now my second time using this fantasy clay from Barbed, and I really like this stuff. I think it might be my favorite sculpting gel. I've only tried 2 brands before. I've tried Nails by Dev, which I do really like. And then I also tried a brand that I got off of Temu, which I do not like at all, and I don't recommend. It is super sticky and really hard to work with. The Nails by Dev one is not as sticky, and it is a lot easier to work with than the cheap Temu brand. But if you do hold it in your hands for a long time, or you're rolling it around in your hands for a long time, the heat from your hands can or does warm up that gel, and it does get a little sticky if you mess with it too much in your hands. Like if you're just sculpting with like your sculpting tools or whatever, it's really not that big of a deal. Like it doesn't really stick to anything. But if I were to be doing this particular set with the Nails by Dev gel, I do feel like I might have had a lot of sticking with it, just because I am rolling out a bunch of pieces and everything, and I'm like touching it a lot. With this ball pit gel, I wasn't really having an issue at all with sticking. I feel like this sculpting gel is a bit more of a drier type of sculpting gel. The others I feel are, I don't want to say wet, but that's like the best way that I can describe it, I think. Is like those are a little more wet, but they're not actually like wet, if you kind of get what I'm saying there. So I think the fact that this is a bit more dry than the other ones helps with it not being super sticky. I honestly, if you are new to sculpting gels, I definitely recommend getting the ball pit ones because like I said, they are super easy to work with. I feel like they're the easiest sculpting gels to work with out of the 3 that I have tried. I definitely think this is more of a beginner friendly type of sculpting gel in my personal opinion. So what I was doing here was creating those little spiky pieces that are on the barbed wire. I just rolled out a little log and cut off the very tip where it was like the most pointed at, and then placed that down onto the nail. And once I got the ones stuck onto one nail, I did flash cure them, and then once I got all of the nails done, I did go ahead and cure for a full 60 seconds. So now for painting the barbed wire, I'm going to use Gravedigger from Nails by Dev as just like a base layer, because I want to go in with a silver cat eye and give it that like metallic look. I was originally just going to use the cat eye, but it wasn't really showing up as well as I wanted it to on the white, so adding this gray down first really helped. I did only do 1 layer. I do end up being in frame. I realized I was out of frame and moved myself into frame, so you are going to see me painting this here in a minute. but like I said, I needed to put this gray color down first to give a little bit of a gray color to the white. Since it is such a bright white, it wasn't really, the cat eye wasn't really showing up like I wanted it to. I did only do one layer of it, and as you can see, it's a very thin layer. It's almost kind of like a wash of color instead of like full color, because I wanted to keep it super thin so you still could see all the like texture and details in the barbed wire. I didn't want that to get taken away or covered up by anything, so I did do a very thin kind of like wash on this. And then I did cure it for 60 seconds. And the brush that I'm using here is the filler brush from Nails by Dev. It's just a somewhat larger brush than, well, it's actually a pretty larger brush than like a normal liner brush, which was what I was using originally, but that was just taking way too long, and using this filler brush made it go a lot quicker. And if I did get any of the gray on the base of the nail, I did go ahead and clean it up with the Slim Shady cleanup brush from Nails by Dev. And after I got that gray on, I used Magic Mirror from Nails by Dev. It is a silver cat eye, and I thought this would give like a really cool like metal metallic type of finish for this and actually make this look like it was barbed wire. So I did this in sections. As you saw there, I did like the wire part first, and then I took my magnet and just kind of brought the magnet pieces to the surface, flash cured that, went here on the middle part, like the barbed part, applied that silver cat eye on, did the same thing with the magnet, just went on both sides of it to bring those magnet pieces to the surface, flash cured that, and then did the little spiky parts there and did the same thing, went on either side of those, brought the magnet pieces to the top. And then after this one, I did do a full 60-second cure to make sure everything was completely cured. After that, I'm taking Bloodbath again, and I think this is the 9mm liner brush from Nails by Dev. It's the Deadly Detailer brush, which is a limited edition brush. I don't know if that's still in stock or not. It's just a brush with like blood drips on it. But anyhow, I just took that and kind of dabbed the red on in various places to make it look like there was blood on the barbed wire. And then I cured that for 60 seconds. And like I said, originally I wanted the base to be matte and the barbed wire to be shiny, and you could see there on the thumbs, the left thumb was the matte base with the shiny barbed wire, and my right thumb was a shiny base with the shiny barbed wire. And I liked how it looked having everything shiny more than it looked having the base be matte and the barbed wire be shiny. So I just went in and applied shiny top coat to everything, and I used that filler brush to get the top coat onto the barbed wire, and then I took the brush straight from the bottle and applied that to the base of the nail. And if you have 3D elements on your nails and you're trying to top coat around them, the best way to do that is to either go in the same direction as your 3D element. So as you can see here, I am going at an angle, and that does help to prevent any pooling. You can also start at the base of your 3D element and pull away from it, like I'm doing here at this part, and that will also help from the top coat pooling around your 3D element. And then after I got that on, I did go ahead and cure for a full 60 seconds. Now I'm just going in and applying my cuticle oil, and then I rub that in. And this is the finished result. I think this is a super cool set. I really personally like the super gross and gory type of Halloween sets. They always end up becoming my favorite sets that I do, just because they are so gross and gory and you can put so much detail into them, and they're just really fun to do as well. This set I feel like would be really cool for like a zombie type of costume. It's kind of giving me like Walking Dead vibes almost, or even like Resident Evil type of vibes. And then the pointer fingers only have one barbed wire instead of two like the rest of the nails, because my conditioner is in a tub and I have to scoop it out, and I use the top of my nails to scoop it out, and I use my pointer finger to do that on my right hand. And I didn't want to have only one barbed wire on my right hand and then two on the left hand, so I evened it out and only put one on each of the pointer fingers. I am super happy with how this set came out, and I absolutely love it. But that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it.